You can spend $149 on a palm-sized aluminum box from a Chinese storefront most people scroll right past, and it will quietly outperform amplifiers sitting in showrooms at 10 times the price. Same chips, same measurements, a fraction of the markup. A revolution has been happening on AliExpress while the legacy brands were busy designing app subscriptions and planned obsolescence. These are 10 hi-fi products that audiophile forums obsess over, but mainstream buyers completely ignore. By the end, you will know exactly what the prestige tax is actually costing you. Number 10. Nice HCK upgrade cables. Here's something most people never think about. That stock cable bundled with your $200 earphones probably cost the manufacturer under $1 to produce. It is thin, it is stiff, and it is the first bottleneck in your entire signal chain. Nice HCK sells aftermarket replacements through AliExpress, starting around $10. 8-core braided construction, silver-plated copper or pure silver conductors, machined metal connectors, every termination you could need. Pick one up, and the difference is immediate. Not just in sound, but in feel. The weight sits right, the cable drapes instead of fighting you, and the connectors actually grip. The first real upgrade most people overlook is the wire they are already holding. Number 9. The Douk Audio T4 Pro Vacuum Tube Phono Preamp. If you own a turntable and you have never heard of this thing, you are almost certainly overpaying for your phono stage. For around $60, you get 2 real JAN5654W vacuum tubes glowing amber on your desk, a proper phono input with an accurate RIAA curve, an auxiliary input, and even a headphone output that drives up to 300 ohms. The tubes are swappable, which means you can roll in different valves and reshape the sound for the cost of a coffee. Meanwhile, the brands you actually recognize are charging $200 to $300 for phono preamps built around the same basic topology with a fancier badge on the front. The name Douk Audio sounds like something you would scroll past without a second thought. That is exactly why it costs $60 instead of $250. The circuitry does not care what the logo says. Neither should you. Number 8. The Moondrop Chew 2. This is a $20 earphone that broke the entire conversation about what cheap audio is allowed to sound like. A single dynamic driver with an aluminum magnesium alloy diaphragm, a detachable cable, and a neutral warm tuning that an entire global community of obsessive measurement nerds agrees is the entry point to real audio. That sentence should make you very uncomfortable about whatever you paid for your last pair of earbuds. HiFi recommends it. Reddit recommends it. Every serious Hi-Fi forum on Earth recommends it. And the measured frequency response sits on the same graph as earphones costing 5 to 10 times more. This is where the real story of this entire list begins. Chinese manufacturers like Moondrop, Truthhear, and 7Hertz have quietly collapsed the price floor of serious audio by cutting out Western marketing budgets, retail distribution chains, and lifestyle branding, then selling direct from the factory through AliExpress. The Chew 2 is the gateway drug. The next entry is what happens when you step through it. Number 7. The Truthhear Hexa. 5 drivers inside a resin shell the size of your fingertip. 1 dynamic driver handling the low end, 4 balanced armatures carving up the mids and highs, all tuned to a Harman target curve that works across virtually every genre you throw at it. The whole thing costs around $80. Just a few years ago, a 5-driver hybrid configuration was the exclusive badge of the $300 to $500 club. You needed to walk into a specialty store, audition 3 or 4 models, and hand over serious money just to hear what multiple drivers working in concert actually sounded like. Truthhear kicked that door clean off the hinges, and nobody in the mainstream audio press bothered to report on it. The bass is clean and controlled, the treble is extended without being fatiguing. The staging is wider than anything at this price has any right to produce. And here is the part that matters most for this list. The earphones are the ears. Everything from here on is about what feeds them. Number 6. The The Topping E52 Desktop DAC. This is a black aluminum box, no bigger than a paperback novel, that converts digital audio with a level of precision most people assume requires a four-figure price tag. Inside sits an AKM AK4497S chip, delivering a signal-to-noise ratio of 131 decibels and distortion so low the number reads like a typo, 0.0001%. On Audio Science Review, where independent engineers measure every piece of gear that crosses their bench, this $199 box lands on the same performance graph as DACs, selling for over $1,000. It takes USB, optical, coaxial, and Bluetooth. It has balanced outputs. It even offers a 10-band parametric EQ through a companion app, which is a feature you normally do not see below $500. And yet most buyers have never heard of it because Topping does not buy magazine ads or rent shelf space at retail chains. They sell direct through AliExpress and a handful of specialist audio shops. The measurements are public. The performance is identical. The only thing separating this from the expensive unit sitting in a showroom is the logo and the rent behind it. Number 5. The AIYIMA A07 Max Power Amplifier. Pick this thing up and your brain short-circuits. It barely weighs anything. It fits in one hand. It is roughly the size of a smartphone, and it will drive bookshelf speakers that cost 20 times its price without breaking a sweat. Inside this $65 aluminum box sits a Texas Instruments TPA3255 Class D chip, the same silicon you will find inside amplifiers wearing Western brand names and $500 to $800 price tags. The Max version uses upgraded AIYIMA and ELNA capacitors, strips away every unnecessary feature, and focuses the entire design on doing one thing honestly: delivering clean, stable power, up to 300 watts per channel in bridged mono. Audiophiles on measurement forums have paired it with KEFLS 50 metas and reported results nearly indistinguishable from amplifiers costing well over $1,000. That is not marketing language. That is what people who actually own both are saying after listening in their own rooms with their own ears. And here is where this list connects to something much older. The golden age receivers we all worship proved that serious power meant serious mass. Massive transformers, enormous chassis, 80 pounds of honest engineering. The A07 Max proves the other side of the same lesson. The silicon has gotten so efficient that in 2025, honest power no longer needs to weigh 80 pounds. The honesty is the same. The physics just caught up. Number 4. The Topping DX5 Mark II. If you have ever thought about building a desktop audio setup and felt overwhelmed by the idea of buying a separate DAC, a separate amplifier, a separate Bluetooth receiver, and then wiring them all together, this single box replaces the entire stack. For $299, you get dual ES9039Q2M DAC chips, a 3-stage X hybrid headphone amplifier pushing 7.6 watts balanced, Bluetooth 5.1 with LDAC, and aptX, a 10-band parametric EQ, and a full-color Aurora display that can show VU meters while you listen. It drives sensitive in-ear monitors with zero audible hiss and swings hard enough to push power-hungry planar magnetic headphones without flinching. The volume knob has a damped ratchet feel that one reviewer noted was more precise than a competing amplifier costing nearly 4 times as much. Across HeadFi, Headphonics, Neowin, and half a dozen independent review sites, the same phrase keeps appearing. Hard to beat under $500. Some dropped the qualifier entirely. And here is the detail that should genuinely bother you. That $299 buys performance that would have sat comfortably in a flagship product line just 5 years ago. The technology did not get worse. The markup just got exposed. The brands still charging $1,200 for equivalent measurements are not selling you better engineering. They are selling you the permission to feel good about the purchase. The DX5 Mark II skips the permission and hands you the engineering directly. Number 3. The Fosi Audiophile 3 Mono Power Amplifiers. Monoblock amplification means dedicating a completely separate amplifier to each channel. Its own power supply, its own signal path, its own breathing room. For decades, that topology lived exclusively in the high-end world because building two separate chassis with two separate power stages was inherently expensive. Fosi made it an $80 experiment. Buy two V3 monos for around $160 total, and you have a pair of dedicated single-channel amplifiers built around the TPA3255 with post-filter feedback technology, which pushes distortion and output impedance even lower than the standard implementation of the same chip. Each unit is no bigger than a deck of cards. Together, they deliver cleaner channel separation than integrated amplifiers costing 20 times as much. One veteran reviewer at Home Theater Hi-Fi, who has owned or reviewed audio components since the late 1960s, bought the V3 monos expecting to flip them on Craigslist if they disappointed. He kept them. Then he bought the matching ZP3 preamp. Then he called the combination top-tier audio sound and spectacular value. That is not a man who is easily impressed, and that is not a phrase he uses lightly. The topology that used to require a second mortgage now fits in a shoebox and leaves you change from $200. Monoblock is no longer a luxury. Fosi just made it a Tuesday afternoon impulse buy. Number 2. The SMSL DO400 DAC and headphone amplifier. If topping is the brand the measurement community adopted first, SMSL is the one that followed right behind it and quietly refused to stop climbing. The DO400 is their answer to the question every desktop listener eventually asks. Can one box genuinely do everything without compromising anything? The build tells you immediately that this is not a budget afterthought. CNC milled aluminum, clean internal layout, balanced outputs, a high-current headphone stage that grips difficult loads without thinning out. The DAC implementation sits at flagship level on the measurement bench. The controls feel precise and deliberate. The whole unit looks and feels like it wandered out of a price bracket 2 tiers above where it actually lives. And yet the same story repeats. Zero mainstream marketing. Zero retail shelf presence. Sold almost exclusively through AliExpress and a handful of specialist shops that cater to people who already know what to look for. The audiophile measurement community knows exactly what the DO400 is. Everyone else scrolls past the listing without a second glance. Every product on this list has quietly embarrassed something more expensive sitting next to it. But the next one did not just embarrass the competition. It rewrote the entire conversation about what budget audio is allowed to sound like. Number 1. The Fosi Audio ZA3 Balanced Stereo Amplifier. This is not just the best product on this list, it is the single clearest proof that the old rules of audio pricing are finished. For $149, you get a TPA 3255 Class D amplifier with balanced XLR and RCA inputs, a stereo to mono switch, a dedicated subwoofer output, swappable DIP8 op amps, and independent measurements that read like a misprint. Total harmonic distortion under 0.006%. Signal-to-noise ratio of 106 decibels. Up to 155 watts per channel into 4 ohms in stereo, 235 watts in mono. The burnt orange volume knob sits on an aluminum chassis with mesh ventilation panels, and it looks like it belongs in a system that costs 10 times what surrounds it. But the specs and the styling are not why the ZA3 sits at the top. It sits here because of how it was born. Fosi took every piece of feedback from owners of the original V3, every complaint, every feature request, balanced inputs, mono mode, better cooling, subwoofer output, and built exactly what the community asked for. They called every customer a co-designer, and then independent reviewers across AudioGone, Ear Fidelity, Audiophile Heaven, and Future Audiophile tested it against amplifiers costing 5 and 10 times more, and used the same phrase. A standout at any price. Not a standout for the money. At any price. The op-amp rolling alone lets you physically swap the sound signature with a $5 chip and a pair of tweezers. No firmware update, no subscription, no app. Just solder-free hardware tuning sitting right there in the circuit, waiting for you to experiment. The ZA3 is $149, and it has balanced inputs, mono bridging, a subwoofer output, and measurements that place it in direct conversation with amplifiers north of $1,000. The only thing it does not have is a famous name. And that is exactly why it costs $149. Every product on this list shares the same DNA. Real engineering sold direct, without the showroom rent, the magazine ad buy, or the lifestyle branding that triples the sticker price. The same silicon, the same copper, the same honest measurements. The only difference is the logo tax you have been trained not to question. AliExpress did not invent good audio. It just stripped away the reasons good audio was expensive. The gear is sitting right there. The only thing still missing is your willingness to ignore the badge and judge the hardware.